Hello everybody and welcome to this Awesomenauts video fresh out of the beta. Today we're going to talk to you about the newest character to hit the roster. He's a really nice guy, he's always happy, and it's really easy to understand why when you're a walking talking pile of pistachio ice cream. His name is the Scoop of Justice. So we're going to go ahead and get the scoop on the scoop. We're doing a slightly different format this time with this video. We're going to talk about his abilities briefly and then go over his upgrades, and then I will try to discuss his upgrades on a more analytical level inside of the post-explanation match. So, one last caveat. Remember, we are in the beta. Things can change. Don't wig out. Don't freak out. You'll be fine. So, let's get this party started. Ronimo describes this guy as a tank and a support. I would say he's a tank. He's got very minimal support options, but he is definitely a tanky person. He has a lot of sustain if you want him to have it. He has a lot of damage if you want him to have it. But no matter what happens, if you've got like both of his abilities, he'll at least always be helpful. So with that in mind, let's talk about his mobility and how he just goes around the map. So as you guys can see, he's not exactly the fastest character, but he's not the slowest either. He moves at a reasonable pace. He also jumps really well. He's got extremely good jump control compared to other characters like Ted. And as a result, his platforming is actually relatively decent. With boots, he moves a good deal faster, 1.2 movement speed faster. Although it feels nicer. That's all I can really say. Ronimo does everything move speed wise by feel. Counting numbers is pointless, I found out. So just boots feel nice. That's all I can really say about it. He feels nice to move around with. He's a lot of fun to move around with, so I have really no complaints on that front. I think he'll be easy to pick up in that sense. Next up, let's talk about his first ability. His first ability is the Hammer of Justice. What it does is it pierces through people, it deals damage, and it snares them. It does not pierce turrets, though it will pierce Scree's totem, interestingly enough. When you throw it out, and if it hits someone who's right next to you, they will take the minimum amount of damage and the minimum amount of snare. So that's 150 damage and 0.4 seconds of snare. If you hit them at the max range of it, it will hit them for 250 damage and for 1.4 seconds of snare. So obviously trying to hit them while they're farther away is pretty important. Now, it's not necessarily distance from you that's important either. It's the length of time that the hammer's been going around. As you guys can see, it bounces. If you manage to bounce it well, you can do a lot of really cool trick shots that can not only pick people off in places that they did not expect to get picked off from, but then on top of that, it also means that you can get away in particularly interesting ways. So, for instance, if you're walking through here, you can just do that. And if anybody gets caught in that while you're running away, they will get snared for a very long time compared to if you just shot it at them. So that's all I have to say about the hammer right now. We'll get to their upgrades later. Next up, we got the Bindings of Justice. The Bindings of Justice look like this. So what just happened? It takes 1 second to charge, and then after the charge, two things happen. One, you gain 300 HP. So that's a little bit more than you get off a neutral creep. The other thing that happens is you deal 170 damage to all droids and enemy Awesomenauts around you. So think of it kind of like a Clunk Explode, but much weaker in terms of damage dealt. But it also keeps you alive because it gives you 300 HP when you use it. This HP gained does not counter Naw's poison. It does not cleanse it, at least not initially. We'll get to that in a second. But overall, very simple ability to understand and to use. You walk around, you use it, it goes off, and it's done for another like 12 seconds afterwards. Not a big problem. You go next to people and hurt them, and you can run away and use it to heal yourself. Done deal. Finally, you've got the sword. This is probably the most complicated part about him. The sword has two attacks. The first is actually a stab. There's the stab. So, stab. That stab hits only one character. It does 100 damage, and that's it. It's his high damage swing. Then he's got his other swing, the cleave. So, the cleave, there we go. It has slightly shorter range and a slightly smaller hitbox, but and on top of that, it also does slightly less damage, 60 instead of 100. However, it hits multiple people, whereas the stab only hits one, and on top of that, it also has a lifesteal component, so it can actually keep you alive if you hit multiple people with it. Although the lifesteal is not inordinate, it's about 12 off the top of my head from base damage with the cleave. It's still enough that if you're just looking for a little bit of HP, you can walk around and get it. You can preload them, so for instance, I just used the stab. If I want to get the stab to start the next fight, I swing again, and then in the next fight, I can start off with a stab instead of a swing. So, there you have it. That's the sword. Let's go over the upgrades quickly so that way you guys can see what's going on. So, for the hammer, as you guys can see, numbers, all that stuff, pause it so that way you can take a look at it if you want to take a look at it. His first upgrade is a snare duration, can go up to 40%, very useful. You've got Brutally Whipped Cream, which increases the damage of the frozen hammer, again, very useful. Twister Lance does both if you've got the skill to use it, because it increases the range of the frozen hammer by 5, which is really, really nice. You got the Ice Cream Van music, which reduces the cooldown of the hammer. Really, really nice to have as well, so that way you can actually, use it more often, and it becomes a constant annoyance for your enemies. For every time that you hit somebody with the hammer, you get 75 HP. Very good, especially if you can hit multiple people, like 4, 5, 6 people. That's a lot of HP. And then the Yellow Snow Cone increases your movement by a lot for 2 seconds if you hit a person with a frozen hammer. Whether or not it refreshes, I don't actually know. But yeah, it is useful to close the distance if you manage to hit and land a long-range hammer and you want to follow it up with some smackage. Next, we got the Bindings of Justice. Here are the numbers. Go ahead and pause it if you want to take a look at them. Upgrade number 1 is Milk of Righteousness. You can upgrade it 3 times to give you a total of plus 300 extra HP when you heal up, so that's 600 total. That's pretty impressive. You got the Banner of Triple Scoop. This one's a little bit badly worded. What it means is, while you're charging, you do damage to people around you. So think immolation, think fire, think I am like lighting the area around me on fire sort of deal, and that's what the Banner of the Triple Scoop does. It can do 60 damage at attack speed of 300. Effectively what that means is that everybody melts, and it's a good upgrade. Right now it feels a little bugged. It hits turrets. I'm not sure if it's supposed to. Next, Idol of the Ice Queen increases the end damage, so the explode damage at the end of the bindings. It means that you're, instead of dealing 170 damage, you're dealing 330 damage at the end. So it does help. It's a little bit of extra burst. It's nice to have. The Penguin Throne is straight up disgusting. It increases your sword damage by 2 times while you're charging, so for a brief period of time, you are the Juggernaut. So go nuts. Penguin Squire gives you a heal over time on it. That's another thing that allows you to become almost impossible to kill. It's more cost effective and heals more than the Milk of Righteousness, but because it's heal over time, that's an inherent disadvantage. And then finally, the Holy Cup has Cleanse. Cleanse means it gets rid of everything. As far as I understand it, from what I've tested, it is really situationally awesome. I quite like it at times. It's great to have like a PvP trinket. If anybody's played WoW, that should have made sense. Next, we got Das Sword. The sword has 2 alternating strikes. There are the numbers. You can go ahead and take a look at them there. The first upgrade is to increase the attack speed. You can upgrade it 3 times up to a total of 45%. Next up, you've got the Royal Sword in the Cream. That's a stab damage of plus 30. Upgrade, you can do it up to plus 90 total stab damage. So that's pretty impressive for every second hit. You got Spoon Man, which is a utility upgrade. You buy it. Every time that you're near friends, all the damage you deal from whatever ability you use is increased by up to 20%. So that can be extremely powerful in the right team compositions. Titanium Cone Shield. Whenever you're below 50%, your sword does 25 and then 50 more damage per swing. That works on both swings. So that means more lifesteal for your cleave and more stab damage for your stabby stabs. Finally, Halberd of Justice. We've got when an enemy dies, you gain a percentage of your health. You don't have to kill them. It's just when the enemy dies, you get a percentage of HP. And it is a very strong upgrade. Wow, it's good. Then you got the Double Liquor Sword. You mark critters with your sword, and then when they die, they drop extra HP, which is really quite nice if you need to heal up quickly in between fights, and there's a nice big jungle that you have access to. So, there's all that. Finally, you got the new Zork's Berry subscription upgrade, but I'll talk about that another time. There you have it, folks. Those are all the upgrades. Let's go into a match so we can go ahead and test this stuff out and talk a little bit about the Scoop of Justice. Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, and here we are in the game. I'm going to do my best to talk about Scoop and Scoop only throughout this. So I'm not going to mention the other the other changes in this patch. For instance, droids or turrets or that kind of stuff. You'll just have to see them to believe them. Alright, now about Scoop. Scoop's early game is poopy. It's not good, unless if you've got some teammates to go with you. And the reason for that is because Scoop on his own he just doesn't do very much early game. The cleave only does 60. His bindings allow him to do very little as well. There we go, got him at least. And even the snare, which is supposed to be like his big support selling point, which it truly is. There, at least I got Spanzelbot. But like, it takes forever to do the same amount of damage that another knot does. At max range, like you land a perfect hammer, you do 250, sorry. Lone Star does 40 right off the bat with his dynamite. Leon does 24 with his tongue right off the bat. And that's like, easy to land. You've got Frog, who does 25 just by dashing through people. I have to land a perfect hammer to do the same amount of damage. It's really frustrating. So, okay, with that said and done, Scoop still does turn into a monster, and the only reason why he turns into a monster right now is because of some imbalance in how his abilities work. So, there we go. Let someone else do the damage, and I snare them in there for like 0.4 of a second. It's enough. There we go. Cleared out the little wave. It's coming from behind here. Maybe. Oh. Yes, come on. Land a couple of sword strikes. Yes! Finally. Holy cow. Man, though, that took forever to do. And that's my big problem. Like, it takes a long time for a sword to do anything. Like, it's frustrating early game. So, when you get past the early game, though, you're fine. Let's continue to move past the early game by picking up the last 2 of the attack speed upgrades. I can now attack very quickly. Just look at that. That is so nice. So, now you're doing a decent amount of damage. I would have to calculate the DPS would be foolhardy, I think, at this point. I don't think I can do it off the top of my head. Needless to say, having a 45% increased attack speed is nice to have, to say the least. It allows me to lifesteal more often, and the stab damage comes out more often, which means I can actually, you know, do things. Like clear lanes or whatever. Boy, am I glad that there was that change that had to do with the amount of, like, the shields that droids had. Alright, now I need to get out of there because I can't handle everybody there, and Gnaw on his own is just a problem. Did that hit him? No, I did not. He got home. That's fine. Where are you? There we go. That's right. You back off. Let's deal with this bottom tower, because pushing is really, really easy to do now. No. Okay, Nacho. That was not very kind. There we go. Oh, almost got the Gnaw with that. Come on. Back off. Nah. He does so much damage. I'm going home. I'm just going home. I'm going to pick up the one upgrade I really need right now, which is this. Now, Penguin Throne combined with Banner the Triple Scoop is what's allowing Scoop to even feel like he's got any power at all. Which is unfortunate, because I honestly feel like Scoop should be a legitimately powerful character all the time, not just when he uses his binding. And like you saw right there, just how much damage I was dealing with the binding, and then immediately afterwards the power level just drops. Yeah, look at that. That, sirs, is called a very broken upgrade. It's not even Trinomite levels of broken. Trinomite just increases the damage that you're dealing by like another 50%, which is nice and all. This is literally a 200% increase in damage. And without it, I'm useless. With it, I'm a freaking beast. So, I don't know. I believe that as of right now, Scoop is underpowered. So long as he doesn't have his broken upgrades. And with his broken upgrades, he is extremely strong. There, see? Like, I chopped him in half in a second. Like, it was brutal. And the best part is, it works against towers to a degree, too. So for that second, you're just dealing Mondo damage to towers, Mondo damage to people. There we go. Let's go down here, because pushing this bottom tower is probably the most important thing you can do as a player in a bot match. Bots don't like pushing don't like pushing bottom towers. They just don't. I don't really know why, but they just don't. There we go. There we go. Bang! Slam-a-lam. That was a horrible miss. And that's me running away like a little ice cream cone. Let's get out of here. I'm done here. Let's go home and pick up some more upgrades. Alright, second upgrade of brokenness. Banner of Triple Scoop. Now, it's currently broken because it hits towers with the immolation damage. But it also just, it hurts so much. It's coupled with the Game of Thrones reference one where it's like double sword damage. Oh, come on, yes, yes. There we go. There we go. As you guys can see, getting that bounce off is pretty nice to have. Get off my face. There we go. Yeah. Without those two upgrades, Scoop feels incredibly weak. But he needs like the Banner of Triple Scoop in order to be able to clear lanes at all. And then he needs the other one, the double damage, the Penguin Throne, so that way he can... There we go. Deal a mondo huge amount of damage for reasons. There we go. And let's get out of here. So they got the top turret, so my teammates are just going to die a bunch now. But that's fine. That's just how bots do. Now that I got those two, I don't really need to pick up any more damage in here. I can just start going for more sword damage. So that's what I'm going to do. And, yeah. Like, this brawler version of Scoop is practically the only way to go about playing him, I find. Just because without this ability to deal this kind of damage, Scoop just doesn't do enough to support his team to bring them into a victorious position. Like, he just... When Ronimo said that he supports, they forgot to mention that he supports himself and very little else. Like, the entirety of his bindings ability just helps him. That's it. And that's fine, I suppose, but... There we go. Come on, there we go. Alright, well, I'm not going to stay up here because I know what happens when I stay up here. I go in there and then I can't jump out. So his mobility is not perfect, obviously. It does have its failings. Oh, it's so many droids. Get off. And droids cleared out. Those upgrades are so strong. Like, oh my goodness. Anyway, it looks like my droids are going to win. My bots are going to win the match. But yeah, Scoop at the moment is very underpowered unless if you consider his overpowered upgrades that he has. Especially within the binding area. There we go. Just melted him. And then aside from that, yeah, he's great once you get money. Because of his upgrades, which are super strong. So, right now, as of this moment in the beta, this is the first release beta, the double damage upgrade and the triple scoop ice cream upgrade are practically mandatory because of the amount of damage they deal. The upgrades in the hammer section allow you to be more supportive in the sense that you can increase the snare duration. And that's about the only supporty upgrade I can find there. His sword pumps him up when he's around enemies if he's got, you know, the spoon head upgrade. But aside from that, you'd have to find creative ways to make him a support character, I find. He is a tank and he is a brawler, as it stands. And he's an underpowered one to begin with unless you pick up those overpowered upgrades. That's the last time I say it. So, there you have it, guys. Scoop, in a nutshell. The general explanation of his abilities and the current upgrades as they are, and then finally this match to show you his brawling kind of build, which I believe is the only one that's really gonna work. The heal upgrade build is underwhelming in terms of the damage that you deal as a result of it, and so I would say that it is a not like it won't work very well right now as it stands. And yeah, that's it. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I know I sure did, although I have to admit bots are frustrating right now. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Later!